Hey guys! Welcome to a brand new video series. This series was actually inspired by a question from my failed Q&A on my old channel, so shout out to Noah Hafer for this idea. He asked how many rejected designs for the Swift Spark there were, and not so long ago I actually had to dig them up. I have to admit I do not archive my art well, or at least I used to be really bad at it until recently. So if it's not inside a sketchbook, it's likely gone to shit. So I had to redraw what was left of the first concepts, and besides that, they were too abysmally ugly to scan in anyway, so...
Look at the top of his head! Look at his lips!
Whilst doing that, the idea for this series was born. A deep dive into each character, talking about their inspirations and development from the very beginning. So let's start with the main attraction, James Riverdale. I'm not sure where I got his last name from, but unfortunately I do have to admit that his first name probably came from a character from a certain fantasy series. You know the one, you know why I won't say its name, so yeah. But I'm not changing his name because many characters are named James. Although his last name, Riverdale, might have been a leftover vague memory from the Sabrina animated series from the early 2000s, but you know, it's been a good 8 years since I designed him, so I'm not sure, really. I can tell you, however, which characters inspired him, and all of your predictions and comparisons, some of which were legitimate trolls, I think, on the old channel, were so far off when it's actually so obvious. I mean, it can't get more obvious than his design's inspiration, which is Phineas Flynn. I mean, look at his hair, it's so obvious. I made James when I was deadlocked into a Phineas and Ferb obsession that lasted from roughly 2010 to 2015, and he originally looked like this, but his design gradually evolved to the friendly following your screen, a total fucking Phineas Flynn ripoff. Why has nobody called me out on this yet? But yeah, I love his design, and I'm not going to change it because I just fucking love it. And why a redhead, you say? Well, my first fictional girl crush was Bloom from Winx Club, and a lot of my favorite characters have red hair. Peter Pan, Cal Kestis, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jessie, Kim Possible, Merida, Candace, Phineas, Wendy, Lunchbat McQuack, Fry. I like it when characters have red hair, I don't know. Red is also just a fun color to work with, so half of my wardrobe is red, and black is the other half, so... Now, the superhero aspect of it all was more inspired by characters like Spider-Man and Danny Phantom and, well, specifically to James, Chat Noir. I'll go more in depth about what inspired Swift Spark in the Defense 5 as a whole series in a future video because there's a little bit more to that than just superhero inspirations. And by that, I would like to say that the answer might surprise you. So for now, I'll just focus on James and some stories that may or may not have inspired his character's arc. For example, I really liked Peter Parker's arc in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Please, calm down, it's just a superhero movie. Anyway, I liked the arc for Peter in Spider-Man where Peter always wondered what happened to his parents, and that his parents were a little bit more involved in this would-have-been trilogy, and that this becomes a driving force for Peter's character next to his promise to Uncle Ben. In 2015, when I was still young and full of hope, I also probably got inspired by Ray's "Please calm down, I'm just talking about the first one, not the shit show that followed after." I liked Rey's character arc, where she initially refused to leave Discount Tatooine in hopes of her parents returning her and find her, and if God forbid she left the planet for 0.2 nanoseconds, she would miss out on them coming back, and they would be, well, where's Rey? And then they'd leave, and I mean, when I look at Swiss Spark in the Defense 5 story and James's arc and his goal within the series, that is kind of similar to that brief 30 seconds of Rey's character wanting to reunite with her parents. So, yeah. I can't really say if any of this directly influenced the story of the Swiss Spark, since I watched Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 in 2014, and The Force Awakens, of course, in December 2015 when it came out. And I didn't start working on the Swiss Spark until late July, early August 2016, but storylines and arcs like that definitely indirectly influenced it. I mean, as I already said, I can definitely see the comparisons to the stories that I was reading and watching and maybe even listening to music at the time. And I suppose you could say that when it comes to his personality, James is also kind of based on me and my brother. Although my brother is a little bit more chaotic than me, we are both true chaotic messes, just like James. For example, I always had trouble making it to school on time, which did not stop until my final exams, which were like, if you're too late, we literally won't let you in to take the exam and you're just failing instantly. And then they proceeded to let people in late. Why would you say A and then do B? But that wasn't meant to last because I got right back on track my first year of college, so yeah. Despite that, I did aspire to do well, and I did graduate with very good grades, so just because you're always late doesn't mean you're a bad student. And as a last little note on James's personality, I would like to add that James has become hyper-focused on solving the mystery of his father's disappearance, and I am afraid to say that he won't like the outcome. But that's spoilers, so you'll have to wait for chapter 9 of the comic for that. Initially, I also looked into giving Swiss Spark a transformation because of my love for Winx Club and Miraculous. I mean, really, the fact is just that I never had access to a lot of anime as a kid other than what cable television chose to air, which was Puka, Pokemon, and Xing Shang, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But if I had access to anime as a kid, I probably would have been in love with Sailor Moon. But I figured that his story wasn't going to involve magic. I mean, literally, one of the first lines in the comic is, "No, it wasn't magic, just science." And so I figured that a transformation wouldn't really fit in with the story, even though Iron Man sort of has a transformation as well. And so our friendly neighborhood spider, I mean Swiss Spark, carries his suit in his backpack, which is going to prove to be both a blessing and a problem at some point, but that is spoilers again. You'll have to wait for the pilot to come out and the rest of the comic. I do have to add that the Swiss Spark is another universe version of James. Like, there's a multiverse of Spider-Man, but different, I promise. I mean, it's not really a multiverse, so to say, as multiple versions of the character exist at the same time. This is a, dare I say it and ruin the surprise, fictional version of James. But they're both fictional, you say. Yeah, just wait for the end of the comic, sweetheart. Anyway, to put it as spoiler-free as possible, Swiss Spark in the Defense 5 is an alternate universe based on the main universe James and his friends live in. That's all I can say without spoilers. Might say more about it in the video about the series, but might be spoilers. And as far as his superhero design goes, I do hate to say it, but although I do see the similarities, again, between Spark and Flash, my inspiration probably does come from Lightning McQueen, because that's the first character I thought of when I was thinking of characters the Swiss Spark looks like that were not the Flash. I mean, I'd have to ask my 15-year-old self. But anyway, at first he looked like this, which was blue and yellow. I legitimately made the connection. Ferraris are red, and red is fast, and I must make him red because red hair and it would look super cool, which actually if you use the wrong shade of red you can end up completely clashing, which is actually the reason that James's hair gradually shifted color after I started designing him as the Swiss Spark to more orange instead of the fire truck red in his original design, because his suit became fire truck red. I hate myself, and I hate this video, and this video made me think of every step I took while designing James, and I hate that that train of thought ended up at one of the worst Pixar series ever! 15-year-old me, what are you doing? Since I don't want to turn this into a literal video essay, and I think this is a nice length for a video, this is where I'm going to leave it for now. Yeah, I'm going to leave you with the Swiss Spark was based on Lightning McQueen thought. Don't bully me in the comments for the love of God. I just wanted to discuss James's origins, his design, his personality, and some inspirations, and cry myself to sleep with the knowledge that a fucking cartoon car inspired one of my favorite character designs. But hey, what can you do? I might go more in depth into James as a character in a future video. So for now, I'm signing off. Hi guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be back for the next. If you want to, you can like and subscribe, and make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you want to see some bonus content or a look behind the scenes, be sure to check out our Patreon. That's all for now. I hope to see you again.